Well, we got one of our best speakers for you this morning. It's a real treat. But before I introduce him, I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to our, July edition of Wake Up Newport. Unfortunately, I think I mentioned last month, Alberto Sandoval, who's normally hosts this meeting with me, has moved up the food chain at UCI, and his successor, Kristen Volandi, is up in Sacramento today, so she couldn't be here, so I'm going to fill both roles today, but if you'll bear with me. Usually at the beginning of the meeting, I like to try, well, let me first ask, do we have any sponsors today for the meeting? No? Okay, so we can dispense with the sponsors. I also like to introduce the dignitaries. We got Paul Watkins back there. He's with the Library Foundation. He's building that beautiful library lecture hall back there, and if you still got an extra $100,000 or $200,000 to help him get over the finish line on their fundraising, I'm sure he'd be happy to accept your check or, I don't know, SNAP or whatever you got. He'll take it. And then who else? Dorothy, you're still with something, right? The Library Board of Trustees? Well, she's a Commodore, but she has an official title, right? Thank you for coming this morning, Dorothy. All right, well, I think that covers our dignitaries here this morning. Other than me, I was a former mayor of Newport Beach, so counts for something, I hope. Thank you. In any event, as I said, we have a great speaker, and I have his bio here. Now, I forgot to bring the one that they sent us, so I went on to his website of Chapman. It was kind of long, so I did, no, you got to hear this.
I introduce myself.
You got to hear some of it, then you can introduce yourself. But I did trim it down some. I got rid, all the things in Italian that I couldn't pronounce, they're gone, all right? There's a lot of E's on the end. I don't know if it's silent or you're going to say E or what. So,
Favorite recipes.
but your favorite recipes? Okay, mine too, probably. So anyway, President Daniele Struppa, PhD, inaugurated on September 1st, 2016. Daniele Struppa is Chapman University's 13th president. How old's the school?
1861.
Oh, long time. Okay, so I can see why you had 13 presidents. Previously, Dr. Struppa held the position of chancellor at Chapman University for 9 years. Dr. Struppa joined Chapman University in 2006 as provost, responsible for creating and implementing academic priorities for the university and for the allocation of resources to support these priorities. In 2007, with the addition of further leadership responsibilities, he was appointed as Chapman's first chancellor. Dr. Struppa came to Chapman University from George Mason University, where he served as the director of the Center for Applications of Mathematics, as chair of the Department of Mathematical Sciences, and associate dean for graduate studies. You can imagine he can probably balance his checkbook. In 1997, he was selected dean of George Mason's College of Arts and Sciences. He also had about 4 or 5 other universities, again in Italy, with names I couldn't pronounce, so we dispensed with those. Dr. Struppa earned his laurea in mathematics from the University of Milan, Italy in 1977, and received his doctorate of mathematics from the University of Maryland, College Park in 1981. In recognition of his work, he has been awarded the Bartolozzi Prize with the Italian Mathematical Union in 1981, the Matsume Medal from the Matsume International Foundation of Tokyo in 1987. Additionally, Dr. Struppa received the prestigious Cozzarelli, I got that one, okay? All right, Cozzarelli Prize from the National Academy of Sciences for a paper he co-authored in 2017. In 2006, the BioIT Coalition, a nonprofit organization in DC, established a new prize in Dr. Struppa's name, the Professor Daniele Struppa Award, which is designed to honor high school teachers of math, science, and technology. Daniele's been the author of more than 200 refereed publications, and he's editor of several volumes. He's edited or co-authored more than 10 books with titles too complex to pronounce. I'm almost done. While serving as chancellor, Dr. Struppa continued his scholarly research focusing on Fourier analysis and its applications to a variety of problems, including the algebraic analysis of systems of differential equations, signal processing, and pattern recognition. Some of his recent work applies these ideas and methods to problems ranging from denoising to biocontaminant protection to, I had to put it out phonetically, proteomics. Did I say that right? Proteomics of cancerous cells. So you can tell this guy's brain is filled with all kinds of great stuff, and he's going to tell you about it today, not only about Chapman, but about himself and Daniele Struppa, part 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know, you're on a lot of parts here, but part 3 or 4 or 5. So with that, I give you Daniele Struppa.
Thank you for this lovely introduction. I told you I want to self-introduce because I knew this was going to be too long. So I want to do 2 things today, if you don't mind. First of all, congratulations for this beautiful space. This is the first time I speak here. I speak here regularly, but usually we are in the other side of the building. And so this is very, very beautiful, lovely. And it's nice to see so many of you because, as you remember, when I moved to Newport Beach 10 years ago, we invited the Chamber of Commerce for a party at my home, and that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. So I'm really happy to be here. I told my successor, I'll show you a picture of him in a second, to continue this tradition because I think it's a wonderful partnership, and Newport Beach has been a wonderful home for us. We sing the praises of this town to everyone we know, and especially my daughter Arianna, who is 21. She's your best ambassador ever. So if you ever need anybody to say good stuff about Newport Beach, she's the one. So I want to do 2 things. As I said, I want to go back a little bit and tell you what happened in the last 19 years that I've been with Chapman, and then I want to tell you what I'm going to do now that I leave my job, not Chapman, but I leave my job. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So I'm going to talk very quickly about some of the. As a provost, my number 1 duty was to build the academic strength of the institution. And so what we did is we were at the time when I came in 2006, Chapman was a regional university. So it was compared with other local institutions. Now we have become a national institution. We are ranking number 121 out of approximately 400 institutions. So there's been a tremendous growth in visibility, in quality, and I believe that that's very important for the region. We have a great institution next to us, UCI, fantastic colleagues and partners, and now you have a counterpart in the private sector, which is us. And you see here some of our rankings. We have built a lot of new colleges and schools within the university, starting with the College of Performing Arts. I hope you come, or you have come sometime to the events at our Musco Center, named after Paul Musco, who's one of our trustees. And by the way, you may remember, those of you who came to the parties at our home was also a donation of Mr. Musco. So there is a little plaque about him. So it's a name everywhere in the region. And then we built the Schmidt College of Science and Technology, the School of Pharmacy, the Green College of Health and Behavioral Sciences, School of Communication, and finally the Fowler School of Engineering. So it's been a tremendous development and growth. And I think that that's what is our contribution to the community. We get a lot from the community. First of all, being in such a beautiful part of the country, in a very safe environment, is something I always tell the parents when they entrust us with their 18-year-old kids. One of the most important things for me is to be able to tell them, your kids will be safe here. This is a beautiful area. But also the facilities, the entertainment ability of this region is fantastic. And creating all these activities is our way to give back. We have grown our numbers significantly. You can see we went from 4,000 to more than 7,700 undergraduate. It's a growth that will continue. It's been, sometimes I wish, I said this, my friends know I always say this, I wish our university were here rather than in Orange sometimes, because Orange has not been as easy a partner as I'm sure Newport would have been, but it is what it is. Even though I have to say that the current mayor of Orange, Dan Slater, is a good friend and is helping us as we move forward. One of the things that I'm very proud is that even growing the number of students, we have also grown our faculty, so that the ratio, student-faculty ratio, has remained very, very good. Everybody knows that one of my fixation is research. I'm a mathematician, I'm a scholar, I'm a researcher, and I believe that that's very important. It's one of the 2 great missions of university. You teach and you do research, so that your teaching doesn't get stale and the faculty are embedded in what they do. And our numbers there are incredible. If you look from 2006, where we were spending about $2 million a year in research, and now we spend almost $50 million. The number of citations for faculty become gigantic. Let me tell you what this faculty citation means. When you write a paper, you rely on what other people have written before you. So at the end of the paper, there is a list of people that you cite. And, you know, Joe Bolo said this and this, or Mary said, prove this theorem, or whatever. When I came, every year we had 528 citations, which means every day one of our works was cited between one and twice. Now we have 17,000 citations every year. That tells you the gigantic jump and how our research has become impactful. So here are a couple of slides that I have, but you don't have to spend too much time, but I just show you the growth of the research expenditures, really dramatic, especially in the last 4 or 5 years when we built a really strong office for research. This is a graph of the faculty citation. So I believe that we really have an institution that is not even comparable to what we had 20 years ago. Many people are still thinking about the Chapman of 20 years ago. Now this is a full-fledged institution of international class. And it's only the beginning. We set the stage for what my successor will do. Let me talk about, as a president, so as a provost, my job was mostly academic. As a president, your job is financial. That's what you want to make sure you put the university on strong financial footing. And so we worked very hard on growing our net assets. We went from less than $1 billion to more than almost $2 billion now. This is very important. You know, this is the net asset. All of you who have a business know exactly what that means. And usually the way when I talk to parents, I speak at this like your net worth. You take all the money you have and all the houses you have and the car and whatever, and you take away all the debt. What is left is your net worth. That's our net asset. And $2 billion is becoming a really nice number. One area in which I really work very hard is what is called the endowment. You may have read a lot on the papers recently because the Trump administration is starting to want to tax the endowment of institutions. There is a lot of debate on what is the point of the endowment. So I'll take a moment to explain because it's important. Endowment is money that is set aside most of the time with no strings attached. In some cases with strings attached, and I will discuss the 2 cases, and can be used for, it's money that we never spend, obviously, but the interest out of that money can be used for a variety of activities. So the majority of our money that is an endowment is used for student scholarships. Universities have become ridiculously expensive. I don't need to tell you because you all know this. It's becoming unbearable. If you are a student at Chapman now, between tuition and housing, it's more than $80,000. It is virtually impossible, even for solid middle-class families, to afford those kind of expenditure. And that's where scholarship becomes important. At Chapman, we have 2 kinds of scholarships. One is on the basis of the ability of the student. We call them merit scholarship. And one is based on your financial ability to pay. So, in a sense, the very best students who are also the less capable to spend get almost 100% tuition. The students that within our scale are at the lower scale of ability are still very good because it's not easy to get into Chapman, but at the lower scale of the ability, and they come from families that have higher capacity to spend, they pay full freight. But we have 25 boxes, so it's a very complex system that drives the enrollment and then makes sure that everybody, depending on their capability, can attend Chapman. Where is that money coming? Most of it is coming from the endowment. So it's been a fixation of mine to build that number. And you see, when I became president, we had $350 million in endowment, and now the actual number that I got yesterday, $906 million. It's a gigantic growth. And that's really been my major effort. And I would say the very first meeting I had when I was a new president was in September of 16. I went to the investment committee and I said, our goal is to bring the endowment to 1 billion and then use that as an intermediate step to a 2 billion figure. So we are almost at the 1 billion now, and we'll be at the 2 billions, I think, within the next couple of maybe 15 years, I would say. Probably less than that. My target is 2037, so it's 12 years to get there. We've also done, Steve was asking for people to pitch in some extra money before. So it's always dangerous to go to any meeting when you have fundraisers there. We have been doing a significant campaign that we are raising quite a bit of money. We are now at 400 million for a campaign of $500 million. So that's also going to be a very successful thing. We built our campus over the last 10 years. The Keck Center for Science and Engineering is a spectacular facility. If you ever come to campus, you really should take a look at the facility. Within it, there is the Swenson Hall of Engineering. And our labs, I remember one thing. When I came in 2006, I toured the university, I spoke with Jim Doty, president before me. I was very impressed I thought this would be a great place to come. But then I saw the science facilities, and they were not even high school quality. And I remember going home to my wife and say, you know, I kind of like the place. But those science facilities are really not what a high-class institution has. So we're going to need to work on that. And now we have been ranked as the #5 best science facilities in the country. And that to me is one of my major sources of pride, because that's something that I identified back in 2006 as an obstacle to me coming here, and we turned that around. So we offer students the best facility when they do chemistry, biology, engineering. It's really, really amazing. It's not just about science, even though I'm a mathematician, but we have a beautiful art museum, thanks to the generosity of the Hilbert family. I hope you go. It's a free museum. It's California art. If you have not been, you really need to go. It's in front of the train station. Not only is free, but 90% of the time you will find Mark Hilbert, who is the namesake and the major donor there, and Mark is going to give you a tour of the facility. He knows every painting intimately, and it's just a special gift to walk around with him for an hour and hear him talk about the significance of the pieces. The museum also won one of the awards for one of the best new architectural structures from the LA Times, so certainly independent decision. We also have a beautiful new Center for Dance. Our dance program is one of the top 20 in the country. The facilities were not as good as we wanted, so we built, thank you to Ron and Sandy Simon. I still remember when I called Ron on the phone. He remembers that because he tells this story. And I said, Ron, I've got a great idea for a fantastic gift for your wife. He said, oh, that's great, what? Name the Sandy Simon Center for Dance. So he told me he was not going to take my phone calls anymore. But we have a beautiful center as a result. Maybe I don't talk to him anymore, which is not true. We have remained wonderful friends. In fact, Ron just got the honorary doctorate from Chapman University, and we celebrate that actually here at Big Canyon. So we're going to be here for that particular celebration. We wanted to make sure we had housing for our students, in particular the City of Orange. We discussed with them, and they were looking for us ways to extract the students from the community and put them in our housing. And since I became president, we built or bought 2 structures, Chapman Grand in 16, Chapman Court 2 years ago, each one of them about 900 beds, and the K residence 405 beds. And I'm telling you, I would be happy to live in one of these any day. I mean, if I were single, I would definitely be living there. I'm not sure I can bring my wife there, and my kids. But if I were single, that's a fantastic, we have, first of all, the apartments are first class. The furniture is wonderful. The kitchen are equipped with the best equipment. And then there is a jacuzzi and the pool and the yoga room and the climbing wall. And the only thing that is missing is a math lab for some mathematics. So I complain with my students. They're having too much fun there. And we have 2 more things that we are building. One is the innovation hub for our film school. You know, our film school is #4 in the country. One of the best places, and this is the new advancing technology. It's really going to be fantastic. And then we just opened, on August 4, actually, we have the official inauguration of a new research park for our quantum physicists. The thing I love, this was an old school, Kilifer School, historical school that's self-desegregated before the order to desegregate. And it was falling in disrepair. We bought it from the city, and we restored it to historical standards, and it's magnificent. And these blackboards, which is what freaks like me and my math friends like, are the real original blackboards of 50 years ago. They were polished and restructured so that we can use that. We got some special chalk that comes from Japan, and so we can play all day long, writing our stuff, our incomprehensible stuff there. So this is what we have done over the last 19 years, and now the stage is for my friend Matt Parlow, who's going to be our new president. One of the great things about Chapman, you may remember, I became president because Jim Doty nurtured me and helped me grow, and then I became the president, and the same has been true with Matt. So there is a beautiful example of an institution that thinks about the future. Matt was our dean of the law school, and then 4 years ago I asked him to join me in executive vice president for advancement. Has done a terrific job. He's a 50-year-old man with great energy, great passion. He loves the university. And you've been tremendously welcoming to me, and I'm asking you to be as welcoming to Matt. He's going to be a great neighbor now here in Newport Beach. Fantastic person. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he will take the institution. So then the question that was originally by Steve, he says, so now what are you going to do? See, I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? So I have lots of options. So one option is to just go and have drinks. That's an Aperol Spritz. That's kind of an enticing one. I could go play golf. Unfortunately, I don't play golf. So it's there mostly because I know that many of you play golf. But so it's a gesture tribute to you because I don't play golf. So that would not really be. Or this is my home in Calabria. I could spend more time there. This is the very south of Italy, just about 6 hours south of Rome. So almost before you get to Sicily. And I just came back Monday night from there. That's quite attractive. So I'm not sure I'm going to turn that off necessarily. So forget about the golf, but the other two are kind of stealing. In fact, I could put them together. That's what I usually do. I spend the day at the beach, and then I go up and have my Aperol Spritz. So there is a way to combine that. Or that's really what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to being a mathematician, which is what I love, both the teaching and the research. So these last few minutes with you, I want to tell you a little bit what are my projects. I actually have several of them, most of which are unexplainable in the sense that are super technical and would be just boring for you to listen to you. So I'm going to talk about 3 that I hope I can manage to explain why they are significant to me, and that's what I'm going to do for the rest foreseeable future. Project 1 is related to a notion that's called super resolution. So let me show you in a picture what super resolution is. Take a look at the gray picture there. In that picture, you see a lot of small things. If you look at that, they're very, very small objects. You can imagine they could be atoms. If you're doing nanotechnology and you're trying to build those nanomachines, for example, to deliver drugs in the body, or they could be cells or portion of a cell if you're trying to study cancer. And you'd like to be able to look at them. Now, how do you look at objects? Well, just like in normal thing, you enter in a room, you want to look at something, you turn on the light. You need to shed light on an object to be able to see it. Now, here I'm going to be technical for 1 second, but probably not too much. You know the light is made of waves, right? And suppose you want to look at these 2 objects, these 2 fingers that I put here. If the wave is too long, that it kind of covers both things, you won't be able to distinguish these. They're going to appear like a blur. So what you need is a wave that does something like this, often enough that is going to have some peaks and valleys between the 2 objects. That allow you to separate them. What is the problem? When we say, okay, so they take their light like this. But the more the light oscillates, the highest the energy. And the high energy destroys the cells or the material that you're working with. So you have a problem there. You want to have a light that does this because you want to separate objects that are very close to each other. But if it does it too much, then it's going to destroy what it's trying to look at. It's a real serious problem that we don't have when we turn the light in a room. So in this picture, you see what would this object look like? There it is? I don't know if no. What this object would like with the normal system. You can see that you get a couple of blobs. So the 2 dots on the top, for example, they're so close that they will show like a single little ball. And here you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, you have 6 objects, and they come up with this vague blob. So we need to find a way to get a light that is enough to separate it, but without destroying. So the idea, and we have been working on this now for many, many years, we have a lot of papers on this stuff, is the following. You take very simple light, and then you make it go through a grid with some little dots open, so the light goes through. But as it goes through these little holes, it kind of interacts with itself. And if you do this in a clever way, you're going to be able to do something like it's shown here. What is it? I don't know how to use this thing. This technology is too fine for me. Anyway, you see at the very center, you're able to simulate a light that does this, even if it's not. So you combine a lot of very low energy light, imagine infrared, and you can get something that fluctuates fast enough to allow you to separate. And the result, the outcome of this, is that now you get a much better image in which the different bodies are separated. So to compare, you have the actual bodies are there. This, of course, is a simulation. This is how regular light will show it, and this would be the new case. And now you see you're able to distinguish it very well, at least those 4 in the lower part. You still have a problem in the top there, because the top there is the one that actually, as you look at the original image, very, very close. So there is a lot of research going on in this. Chapman is one of the most, in fact, on this particular topic, we are probably #1 in the world. It's a topic of great, both physical and mathematical complexity. And Steve was saying before, I do Fourier analysis. That's a kind of instrument that we use to do this. So I foresee that I'm going to be working on this for another 5 years or so, because we have a lot of open questions, very interesting questions. So that's one of the projects. The second project is a commentary on a text of Plato. So everybody knows the name of Plato. He wrote a very important dialogue in 300 BC. This dialogue was so important, it was the most important dialogue studied throughout the Middle Ages in Europe. And in the year 400 AD, another very famous Neoplatonic philosopher, Proclus, wrote 5 volumes of comments to that dialogue. And in the year 1000, it was recently discovered, maybe 60 or 70 years ago, there was a manuscript, which you see here on the right, that was discovered in a library in Germany, which is a commentary to the commentary of Proclus. So one portion of my research, I work with a Greek philologist from a university in southern Italy, in Sicily, and an archival expert at the University of Paris in France, and we are writing a book on this particular commentary. The commentary is only 10 pages, and the book is going to be probably 100 pages, in which we do the translation of the various versions of this commentary, we discuss the significance, and I offer all the mathematical insight. You're saying, what is a mathematician doing this? If you ever read the Timaeus, it's a mathematical discussion. It would be too long and not necessarily the right place here, but it's about mathematics and music. And so that's how I got interested in this particular thing. And then finally, a project that is going to last me until the very end, because it's a very, very long-term project. And I put here the title, which means I'm learning Arabic. And so the question is, why are you learning Arabic? Why would you want to do that? And the reason why I'm doing that, I'm going to explain that the game is mathematical. So that was, oops. Al-Arabia. So I want to talk very briefly about how was mathematics written. Until about 750 AD, mathematics was written in Greek. Why is that? The Greeks had a tremendous mathematical school, 400, 300, 200, 100 BC. Names that you all know, like Pythagoras, Archimedes. So they created an incredible mathematical school. In about the 300 BC, the Romans started expanding. Rome, I was joking before with a friend, was founded in the middle of the 8th century BC. But it started as a little town, and it started conquering and moving. It's a typical example of imperialistic expansion. Finally, in 323, they arrived in Syracuse, and they conquered the city of Syracuse, where Archimedes was living. But the interesting thing is that even though the Romans were the strongest military power, the culture, the Greek culture, was so strong that most of the intellectual work continued to be done in Greek. So every book that you read about math, really until about 750 AD, is written in Greek, even though the glory of ancient Greek was gone. In fact, by 750, even the Roman Empire collapsed, because the Roman Empire split in 400 AD between Western and Eastern, and by the end of the 5th century, the Western part had collapsed completely, and there was only the Eastern part. So this was the language. Everything in mathematics is written in Greek. I studied ancient Greek when I was in high school, so these are authors that I can read originally. The third language, you know, I'm skipping the second. I went from the first to the third. The third language is Latin. And I have a friend here who's a big, passionate friend of Fibonacci. So in 1202, Leonardo Fibonacci, which was from the city of Pisa, that's why you have the Pisa Tower there, wrote a book that is probably the most important medieval book. It's called the Liber Abaci, in which he tells the Western people, the Italians in that case, the merchants, he says something like, I've summarized the book in 2 sentences. The Arabs have a much better way of calculating stuff. And I want you to learn that, because that's how you can build commerce. That's really the summary of Liber Abaci. He realized he went to what is now Algeria with his father, and his father was there for beautiful reasons, but again, we don't want to spend time now, but he went there and he learned that the Arabs had this new numeration system, which was the Indo-Arabic system. He went back to Italy in 1202, wrote this book. This book was really huge, huge in expanding the use of this new number system. The book is written in Latin, and frankly, from there on, for the next 600 years, everything in mathematics, including Newton, including Gauss, some of the greatest mathematicians, was written in Latin. Now, the book you see here on the right is actually something I published last year. It's a biography of Fibonacci. It's a fake biography because we know very little about his life, so it's what they call creative nonfiction. So all the important points are true: when he was born, that he went to Africa and why, and then when he met the emperor in Pisa, and the books that he wrote. The part of his personal life are all recreated. But I think it's it's coming out the Italian edition shortly, and then hopefully in a year or two the Arabic edition. Because this is actually a story of two cultures that come together. It's incredibly fascinating. And so I told you before that until 750 everything is in Greek. From 1200 everything is in Latin. What happened in the middle? In the middle, the second language of mathematics was Arabic. Because in 750, Harun al-Rashid, which many of you some know because he's the character that appeared in the Arabian Nights, those beautiful stories that we read to our children. Harun al-Rashid creates his own library in Baghdad. And the caliph after him turns that library into what they call Bait al-Hikmah, which means the house of wisdom, and becomes the #1 center in the world for intellectual work. Every scholar from the world is in Baghdad. Everything gets translated from the Greek into Arabic. So it's a tremendous amount of transformation, and these people were really smart, so they were translating, but they were developing and building new stuff. So it's an incredible moment. Some of these names, Al-Khwarizmi, Al-Farghani, these are not even Arabs. Al-Khwarizmi is a Persian. But because he's in Baghdad, he has to write in Arabic. So Arabic becomes really the language. And so that's why I'm learning Arabic, because I want to read. I read Latin, I read Greek, and I figure that in the last part of my life, I want to learn to read Arabic so that I can fit that missing part in the middle. One of the books I'm reading with my teacher, I take a class every day, is, so this guy is Al-Khwarizmi. If you look, I have actually his picture talking with me in my WhatsApp. So if we do a WhatsApp connection, you see him again. He wrote a book in 825, whose title, shortened title, is Al-Kitab Al-Jabr. Al-Jabr means comparison. It's explaining how you solve equation. You know, when you solve an equation, you take stuff from one part, you bring to the other. I remember from school, you move stuff, you add to both sides, you balance the thing. That's the word algebra. When it was translated into Latin, algebra became algebra. So that's why we call it algebra. It's really the fact that we translated their book, we translated their words, and so this became the book of algebra. But algebra is really the transliteration of algebra. And the word algorithm comes obviously from this guy, Al-Khwarizmi. And his name really was, is what I wrote there, is Abu Jafar Muhammad bin Mosa al-Khwarizmi, which means Ibn is like bin, Osama bin Laden means son. So sometimes you write bin, and sometimes you see Ibn. So he's the son of Moses. Al-Khwarizmi means from the town of Khwarizmi. So, but we know him as Al-Khwarizmi, but that really is a simple indicating from where he's coming from. So why have I told you all of this? Well, first of all, Steve asked me to say, tell us what you're going to do. But I think there is a message here, that's what I want to convey. My friends, I mean, I've been in education all of my life, right? I taught my first class in 1977 when I was 22 years old. And so people say, what is education all about? Why is it important? We try to explain. And the answer we get to me are always wrong. One answer we get is because that's going to give you a job. And of course, education will give us jobs, it's for sure. But that's not really the ultimate reason why we study. I can get jobs even without education. In fact, many of the jobs that we need don't really require sophisticated education. Require maybe some form of how do you say? Vocation, thank you. Vocational education. So jobs is not the thing. Parents often tell us we want our son or daughter to be able to make good money. That's also, to me, the wrong reason. Of course, we know that if you have a bachelor, on the average, you're going to make more than if you didn't. Bachelor graduate make more money than high school over the span of their life. Master more, doctoral more. But I don't think that's the real reason. To me, the real reason for education is what you just saw. I'm turning 70, but as I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I said, the winter has arrived, but I feel like it's still spring for me. It's still spring because my level of energy is sustained by the passion I have for the stuff that I'll be working with. And so I still am a 25-year-old kid, still curious, just like when I was 25, in fact, when I was 15 or when I was even 5, curious to learn more, to understand better. And that is what is going to ensure me, whatever years the Lord is giving me, that they will be exciting and well spent. I'm not retiring for the 3 reasons that I showed in the original picture. I'm retiring from Presley because I really want to spend all of my time on this stuff. And that, to me, is what education is all about. Education is something we do to prepare us for the long term of our life. It's not about the job, though it helps. It's not about the money, though it helps. It's because you want to have a life that will see you at the end of your life still being a young kid with the same enthusiasm and passion and strength that will make you a significant member of the community. So that's the message I'm giving you. I hope you'll transmit that message to your kids, to your friends, to other friends that have children going to school. This is why we educate people. That's what should really be preeminent in our mind. Thank you for your friendship, for everything you've given me over these 9 years. It's been fantastic, but I can't wait to do the stuff that I really like. Of course, if there are any short questions, I don't know, Steve, we have? Yes?
So I'm a transition specialist, and I totally agree with everything you're saying, but I do have a question that keeps coming up in education, and how is AI going to affect all of this?
Very nice. So what about AI? It's a great question. And I think there are lots of different answers. There are the great enthusiasts that claim that we're going to be removed, that humans are going to be completely irrelevant because everything is going to be done by AI. I don't believe that. One thing that certainly AI hasn't yet developed, maybe will at some point, is the ability to ask the good questions. So you can ask questions of AI, and AI, in many cases, is able to give you reasonable, interesting answers. But where the real, what distinguishes, let me say it this way, a great mathematician from an okay mathematician is not the problem they solve, but the question they ask. The choice of the question really is a determinant of the quality or how you understand the big picture. And I think that that's going to be a long way. So AI, I believe, is going to be very helpful in many of these things. So AI, for example, could do the translation of this book. I don't need to learn Arabic. In fact, I don't need, because other people have done the translation, so I could read them in translation. But a translation is a form of betrayal of the original text. You read something, you translate, you put part of yourself in that. I want to be able to read originally and put my own part of myself in the translation. So the AI can help me because it can give me already a base out of which I can read what's going on. But then my interpretation is going to be sent. So I think AI is going to play a very large role, but I think there is plenty of room for us. And then I'm going to make a little sideway that may be a little more metaphysical, but when we think about what AI does, I think we need to think of what are we. And there are 2 ways that we can think about a human. One way is to think of us as a very perfect, beautiful machine. It comes out by molecules coming together, and then eventually these molecules acquire life, and they start replicating, and we are obviously shaped by evolution. So what we are, we're very good machines that have been developed over millions of years. If that's all we are, then I think AI eventually will be better than humans. We can build machines that will become better and better. If we believe, and I'm one of those who believe that there is something more to being human, the spirit, the soul, the connection with the divinity, well, then AI will never be like us. So to me, the fear of AI depends on what you think you are. If you're just a great machine, then I think you should be afraid, because any great machine can be replaced. I think I'm in the image, and that's why I say this is a little more metaphysical, I'm in the image of God, and I don't, poor image, obviously. So that's actually something that sometimes makes me think. If I were God, would I make people like this guy? I don't think so. But anyway, that's not my call. But if that's why, if you believe that there is something else, that the human is not a machine simply, but there is a spirit within you, there is a soul within you, there is a connection within you, then we shouldn't be afraid. Machines are going to be very good helps for us. But thank you. It's a very deep question. We could talk about it for days.
Actually, I have one. So I applaud you on your efforts to increase the research that Chapman's doing. Are you seeing the effects of the cutbacks, or I mean, are any of your programs in jeopardy of losing funding because of things that are happening?
Yeah, good question. So you all know that the current administration is putting the screws a little bit on research in general, funding to universities. So my position here is a little controversial, like most of the things that I think. I believe the universities have sometimes taken a little advantage of the system. I don't know how familiar you are with the concept of indirect recovery cost, but that's one of the things that is being debated. So let me give you an example. Let's say that Mark Skousen is a professor here, professor of economics. So he and I decide to have a project together, and we put together a proposal in which there is $10,000 money for travel, $20,000 for students, some salary money for us in the summer. It's a $100,000 proposal. And let's say that this gets approved by whatever agency has to fund it. The agency will not give us 100. Will give us 100 plus 46%, so $146,000. We have only 46 as our indirect rate. Other institutions have 50, 60, 70%. So there is a tremendous amount of money that the federal government, through the agency, has been putting in this research. There is taxpayer money at the end of the day. And this money doesn't get used necessarily for our research. In fact, it doesn't. That money, a small portion will come to us because we are the principal investigator, but the majority stays with the university for their infrastructure. So one of the things, but if you apply to a foundation, Templeton Foundation or any other foundation, you get 7, 10, 15%. So the foundations are willing to give a little extra for the management of the thing, but not 40, 50, 60. I think that the administration says, this number is too big, we need to bring it down to 15%. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. Where I think I'm critical is the fact that you can't go from whatever you're doing now, let's say 50 to 15. You should do this in gradual steps. But the problem, of course, with the American system of governance is that every 4 years you have a new president. So you can't say over the next 10 years we're going to go from 60 to 15, allowing the university to adjust. So there is some impact of that. I don't think all of this impact is bad. I think that there's been a little bit of bureaucracy growth within institutions. And now I speak as a taxpayer here, because as a president, I'm supposed to oppose any such action from the government. But I'm more a taxpayer now. I'm a president for 2 more months, and I'm going to be a taxpayer forever. So there are some challenges. Chapman is well shielded because we don't have the gigantic number that say that you see. So for UCs, this is a really huge problem. And I empathize with my friends, especially because if this goes through, this is kind of a drastic collapse. It's not a gradual. I think we can all adjust to change in our income. Take your income and say your income is going to become 70%. But it's going to do over the next 6 years. Well, you can adjust some of your expenses. But if it's tomorrow morning, well, not so easy because you have commitment. So that's why I think that instability comes from. But that's a very important discussion, obviously. All presidents talk about that, and we all have divergent opinions. Yes?
Last question.
How do I get better at asking questions then? I know you talked about asking questions, and that's the key. If you have a curiosity, is there something that you recommend, or I know practice, experience, things like that, but as it relates to AI? Yeah.
Well, the main question you have about AI is how we can try to really give them a process to make them create a set of questions. I don't know how we come up with those. I don't think we understand well how we do it. But we know that everybody here, when you were 5 years old, you were asking yourself why sometimes there is a lot of water in the back bay and sometimes there is no water. When you were 5 years old, all of you were asking, why is the sky blue? What is there that is blue? Because the air is not blue. So why is it blue? And why is the sun changing color when it goes down? But then when we turn 20, we don't ask those questions. We still don't know the answer. Because even the phenomenon of tides is much more complex than people think. And certainly the phenomenon of light diffraction. So we lose that ability, and I don't think we really understand how that comes up. And that's to me my fascination. My entire life has been a battle against stopping being curious. And that's what I'm begging my students, my children. The curiosity is what differentiates humans from animals. We have a dog. My dog is not very curious. It smells where the food is and it goes there, and it's not wondering where are the cookies coming from? Who's made the cookies? And if Daniele goes away, is there going to be another cookie provider here? Doesn't ask the question. But we do.
It's going to be Matt.
Right. So that's what makes the big difference, I think, between. And so I think it's almost a sacred duty for us not to do that. And it pains me when I see our kids sometimes in college, and they're not curious anymore. I usually, every lecture I give, I say something completely outrageous, hoping that people will catch up and will ask me a question about it. I didn't do it today because I was lazy, but because it required thinking. But I always say something that's kind of weird, and then people don't ask me. So the next time I said, last week I said this. This is BS. How can I have said that? What does this mean? And I say, no, I thought it was strange. Well, then you should have asked. So that's our job. Well, thank you guys. You've been fabulous. Again, thank you for your friendship over the years.
Great talk.
Thank you.
So, and you bring up an important point, something that I think about a lot. It's tangential to your question there. How do we ask good questions? But I think there's been a lot of people have a lack of critical thinking. If something's presented to them and they just accept it, just like you're talking about, like the BS, like why didn't you push back on this? And I think, all of us need to be, as we get things on our phone and, there's all different kinds of noise out there, you need to think critically about what you're hearing, question it, right? Look for other information maybe that might be out there, because a lot of times even the AI answer gives you a weird answer, but it's based on you don't know what. So you need to think about it. Well, is that really the case? So thank you for bringing that up. Great talk, as I knew it would be. I'm sorry to see you go. Maybe we'll have you come back in a couple years and see what your progress is on learning Arabic. Maybe you can give the whole talk in Arabic. Yeah, we'll have the Arab American Chamber here, and we'll have them. They'll enjoy it anyway. But no, it's and thank you again for your hospitality at your home a couple of times already. We look forward to seeing Matt in the house there and having a great party. Elisa, I'll let you make sure that happens. And it's been a great run, and I look forward. Hopefully, I can come and visit you on office hours or whatever over at the school. Actually, my wife is. Top of the list with my wife is going to Italy, so I may take you up on that. You don't offer it because you never know. I might show up and knock on your door. But again, another great program here. We do this normally the first Thursday. We moved it this month because of 4th of July, but first Thursday of the month. Next month, our speaker is Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes, so hopefully you'll come out for that. He's a great speaker as well. We'll be talking about crime and things that are happening here in our city and in the county in general. A couple events we have coming up. Our luncheon is next Wednesday. It's going to be at Soul Restaurant on Pacific Coast Highway. And then our Sunset Mixer this month is at 5 Crowns, which last Sunset Mixer we had 245 people at. New record for us over at Balboa Bay Resort. Carol just left, but they hosted us. Thank you, Balboa Bay Resort. But, I think we're capped at 150? Yeah, it's their 60th anniversary of 5 Crowns. So we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting, celebrating that first, and then we'll launch into our mixer, and it should be a great event. You can find out about all these things at our website at newportbeach.com. And if you're not a member of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, you should be. We'll see you next month. Thank you.